I'm a performer. The hardest part is how people treat me. Even my own family.
I don't get it. Show up.
Nate, answer the phone!
And disappear.
You wanna ruin my life? Ah!
Nate Jacobs has never been the kind of man who walks away. But this time, he didn't just walk, he vanished. And in Euphoria, when someone disappears without a word, it never means they're gone. It means they're planning something. The question tearing through every character in episode 6 isn't where Nate went. It's what he's about to do when he comes back. Because the promo doesn't show a man running from his problems. It shows a man who has finally decided to end them. Euphoria has never been a show that lets its characters breathe. Every season, every episode, every single scene is designed to suffocate, to pull you deeper into a world where the truth is always buried underneath something uglier. But episode 6 of season 3 does something the entire season has been building toward. It stops pretending. The masks come off. The lies stop being subtle. And the people who thought they were safe suddenly realize they never were. The promo opens with a weight that is impossible to ignore. There is no slow build, no gentle introduction to ease you in. It drops you directly into the chaos that has already consumed these characters. And it makes one thing brutally clear from the very first second. Trust is not just broken in this episode. It has been completely destroyed. Every alliance that was quietly holding this season together is now cracking under the pressure of secrets that were never meant to survive this long. And the moment those secrets start spilling out, nothing about this show will ever look the same again. What makes episode 6 so different from everything that came before it is the shift in power. For 5 episodes, certain characters operated from a position of control. They knew things others didn't. They made moves while everyone around them stayed still. But that dynamic flips in this episode in a way that is as shocking as it is inevitable. The people who are being watched are now the ones watching. The people who are being manipulated are now the ones pulling strings. And the people who thought they had already won are about to find out exactly how wrong they were. At the center of all of this is a narrative built entirely around consequences. Every choice that was made in the earlier episodes of this season now comes with a price tag. Every secret that was kept, every lie that was told, every moment where a character chose self-preservation over honesty, all of it is being collected. All of it is being added up. And episode 6 is where the bill finally arrives. The collection is brutal. The cost is staggering. And not a single character in this episode escapes without paying something they cannot afford to lose. The atmosphere throughout the promo is relentless. There is a specific kind of dread that Euphoria has always been able to manufacture, better than almost any other show on television. The kind that does not come from jump scares or sudden violence, but from the slow, creeping realization that something is irreversibly wrong. Episode 6 weaponizes that feeling from beginning to end. Every frame feels like the moment just before a collision. Every conversation carries the weight of something unsaid. Every look between characters communicates a threat that no one is willing to speak out loud. The tension is not just present in this episode, it is the episode. What the promo makes abundantly clear is that loyalties in this world are not permanent. They never were. They were always conditional, built on fear, on shared secrets, on mutual destruction. And the moment those conditions change, the loyalty evaporates. Episode 6 is the moment where every conditional alliance reaches its breaking point simultaneously. Characters who were standing together just one episode ago are now standing across from each other with entirely different intentions. The lines have been redrawn, the sides have shifted, and the people who haven't figured that out yet are already losing. The emotional core of this section of the episode revolves around a truth that Euphoria has been circling since the very beginning of season 3. That the people who love you are often the most dangerous people in your life. Not because they want to hurt you, but because they know exactly where you are most vulnerable. They know which wounds are still open. They know which fears you have never spoken aloud. And when the relationship turns, when the love cracks and something colder takes its place, that knowledge doesn't disappear. It becomes a weapon. Episode 6 shows characters using that weapon on each other with a precision that is as devastating as it is heartbreaking. Family, in this episode, is not a source of protection. It is a source of pressure. The bonds that were supposed to hold these characters together are instead being used to pull them in directions they never agreed to go. Obligations are being called in, old debts are being weaponized, and the people who thought that blood meant safety are discovering, one painful scene at a time, that blood can also mean obligation. And that obligation, in this world, can be just as suffocating as any enemy. The promo builds through this section with an almost musical rhythm, waves of tension followed by brief moments of eerie calm, only for the next wave to hit harder than the one before. It is masterful construction. It is the kind of storytelling that reminds you why Euphoria, at its best, is unlike anything else currently on television. The direction is cinematic. The performances are raw, And the script trusts its audience to feel the weight of every single moment without having it explained. But underneath all of the drama, underneath all of the confrontation and the broken alliances and the devastating revelations, there is a single question that this section of episode 6 refuses to answer. A question that the promo raises and then deliberately leaves hanging in the air like smoke. A question that changes the meaning of everything that came before it and everything that is still to come. The second section of episode 6 does not ease you in. It picks up exactly where the tension left off and immediately makes it worse. If the first part of this episode was about the collapse of trust, then this part is about what people do once that trust is completely gone. And what they do is not pretty. It is not measured or calculated or restrained. It is desperate. It is reactive. It is the kind of behavior that people resort to when they have run out of options and the only thing left is raw survival instinct. This is where Euphoria stops being a drama about teenagers navigating trauma and becomes something far more primal. A story about human beings cornered, exposed, and fighting with everything they have left. Nate Jacobs has always been the kind of character who controls the room without saying a word. His presence alone carries a threat. His silence has always been more dangerous than anything he could say out loud. But episode 6 strips that away. The version of Nate that appears in this section of the promo is not the composed, calculated manipulator that the show has spent seasons building. This is a different Nate entirely. This is a man who has lost his grip on the narrative he spent years constructing around himself. The disappearances that were mentioned earlier in the episode were not random. They were not impulsive. They were the final preparations of someone who has decided that the time for quiet manipulation is over. Nate is not hiding anymore. He is positioning. And the position he has chosen is one that puts every single person in his orbit directly in the line of fire. What makes Nate's arc in this episode so deeply unsettling is not the violence of his intentions. It is the clarity. For the first time in a long time, Nate knows exactly what he wants. He knows exactly what he is willing to do to get it. And he knows exactly who is going to get hurt in the process. That kind of cold, focused determination in a character who has always been emotionally volatile is far more frightening than any outburst could ever be. Because outbursts end. They burn themselves out. But a man with a clear plan and nothing left to lose does not burn out. He just keeps moving forward, one calculated step at a time, straight toward the point of no return. The confrontations in this section of the episode are not the kind that get resolved. They are not arguments that end with understanding or moments where characters find common ground. They are the kind of confrontations that permanently alter relationships, where things are said that cannot be unsaid, where lines are crossed that cannot be uncrossed, and where the people involved walk away from each other fundamentally changed. There is a specific scene in the promo where two characters face each other with the full weight of everything between them sitting in the air, and neither one of them flinches. Neither one of them backs down. And in that stillness, in that refusal to yield, you can feel an entire relationship ending in real time. Not with tears, not with shouting, just with the quiet, devastating finality of two people who have chosen themselves over each other. The mysterious newcomer introduced earlier in the season takes on a completely different dimension in this section. Up until now, this character has existed on the edges of the story, present but not fully integrated, observed but not fully understood. Episode 6 changes that. The promo shows this character stepping out of the shadows and into the direct path of the episode's central conflict, and what they bring with them reframes everything. Their presence is not accidental. Their timing is not coincidental. Every move they have made since their introduction has been leading to this moment, and the moment is far more significant than anyone around them realized. The brutal reality of navigating a world that simultaneously exploits and discards you has shaped this character into something that the other players in this story were completely unprepared for. Someone who has already survived the worst and has absolutely nothing left to fear. This is where the episode starts exploring one of its most devastating themes, the cost of visibility. In a world that is obsessed with watching, with documenting, with consuming other people's pain as entertainment, the people who are most visible are also the most vulnerable. The spotlight does not protect you in Euphoria's universe. It exposes you. It invites scrutiny and judgment and projection from every direction, and it does so without offering anything in return except the illusion of relevance. The newcomer understands this better than anyone. They have lived it. They have been consumed by it. And now, standing at the center of episode 6's most emotionally raw sequence, they lay that reality out with a honesty that cuts through every layer of performance and pretense that the other characters have been hiding behind all season. What follows is a sequence that the promo only hints at but makes impossible to ignore. The emotional fallout from the newcomer's revelation sends ripples through every relationship in the episode. It forces characters to confront not just what they have done to each other, but what they have allowed to be done. The passive participation in each other's destruction that everyone in this world is guilty of. Because in Euphoria, nobody's hands are ever truly clean. Every character has looked away at the wrong moment. Every character has chosen comfort over confrontation when the right thing to do was speak up. And this episode forces all of them to sit with that, to look directly at the damage their silence has caused, and to decide right now in this moment whether they are willing to keep paying that price. The stakes in this section escalate in a way that feels both sudden and completely inevitable. The ultimatum that the promo has been building toward finally takes shape here, and it is far more extreme than anything that could have been anticipated. This is not a negotiation. There is no middle ground being offered. The choice presented to the central characters is as simple and as brutal as it gets: total destruction or absolute survival. There is no version of this situation where everyone walks away intact. Someone is going to lose everything. The only question is, who is willing to go further to make sure that person is not them? The threat of ruination hangs over every scene in this section, like a storm that refuses to break. Characters circle each other with the careful, deliberate movement of people who know that one wrong step ends everything. Alliances are tested in real time. Loyalties are quietly renegotiated behind closed doors. And underneath all of the careful maneuvering, underneath all of the strategy and the posturing and the threats, there is a current of pure, unfiltered panic. Because everyone in this episode knows something that they are trying very hard not to show, that they are not as in control as they need to be, that the situation has grown beyond what any single person can manage, and that the moment someone makes a mistake, the whole thing collapses. The writing in this section of the episode is operating at a level of precision that demands attention. Every line of dialogue carries at least two meanings. Every scene is doing multiple things simultaneously, advancing the plot while also deepening character, raising the stakes while also revealing vulnerability. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is accidental. The show has always been ambitious in its storytelling, but episode 6 feels like Euphoria fully in command of everything it set out to do this season. The pieces that were placed carefully across the first 5 episodes are now snapping into place with an almost audible click, and the picture they form is both devastating and brilliant. There is a moment in the promo, brief, almost easy to miss, where one of the central characters stops. Just stops. In the middle of all the chaos and the confrontation and the escalating threats, this character goes completely still. And in that stillness, in that single unguarded moment, you see something that the entire episode has been carefully concealing. You see fear. Not the performed fear of someone reacting to a threat, but the deep, quiet, bone-level fear of someone who has just realized that they have already lost. That whatever they were fighting to protect is already gone. That all of the maneuvering and the strategy and the carefully constructed defenses were never going to be enough. That the end was always coming, and it is here.